Isn't it interesting, Darren? One of the things you and me talk about quite a lot is this ROI question. You know, people are constantly asking us, well, what's the return on investment on some sort of leadership development initiative? But what if the true return on investment is not measured in dollars and cents, but measured in transformation? What if?
So, Andre, with your experience working with organizations and the need to measure the effectiveness of their investment in training and development, in this context, specifically leadership development, what have you found as the most effective ways for organizations to measure the return on that investment of time and energy into their leadership development program?
Yeah, people often ask that. Thanks, Garen. People often ask that question, tell me what sort of return am I going to get over there? And I think they're asking the wrong question. If you look at it from that point of view, ROI is very financially focused, which is what is the impact of what's going to come as a result of this. And there's so much effort put into trying to isolate those factors. And we lose sense of the bigger picture of what we're trying to do in the first place, which is really transformation. We want to build this bench strength of leaders throughout organizations. And yes, we do need to have the right program. So there's no question about it. You got to make the right choice, but change the focus rather than on ROI. And then some of the best leaders I've worked with are saying, look, I don't need to know that I put in $1 and I'm going to get $5 back. What I really want to know is to be able to give me the confidence when I look across the business that I have leaders who are lifting and getting up and doing things and coming up with ideas and coming up with solutions to the sorts of really difficult issues we have right now. Not give me some metric or spreadsheet. That kind of doesn't do it for me. It's about confidence, which is really tough to measure, Darren. And I guess some of the more contemporary, bigger picture, future focused leaders that I work with very much think that way. So yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's been my experience working with, when I work with business leaders directly, is that their biggest concern tends not to be what is the investment in this program. Is this going to help me to deliver the results I need to deliver for my division, for my company, whatever that might be? And if you have a strategy but you're unable to execute it, to your point, I mean, that does not serve the business very well. And so it's that confidence and it's that focus that really is what you're looking for from your leaders.
And that's kind of where it starts, because that confidence and focus from your leaders doesn't happen through happenstance. It happens very intentionally, right? There was this term that was around in the 80s and 90s called the leadership factory. And it still kind of makes sense today, where organizations are very intentional about building leaders. And if you think about it, the people who get the attention in leadership development are usually the few at the top of the organization or some in the middle. But the group that gets ignored, Darren, is really people at the front line or new leaders coming into the business, which, interestingly enough, they have the most impact because just by sheer volume of the people working for them. Yet it's strange that that's the group that gets invested in least, but we've got to develop them. If we just think it's going to happen through happenstance, it's not going to work.
Absolutely. Really, as you know, we've all heard it before, but it's a truism, is that an organization's greatest assets are their people. Is that even in the age of AI, we still are leaders doing the leadership work. And so we need to invest in them to be able to get the results that we're looking for, not only organizationally, but continuing to engage and develop the next crop of leaders that are coming up.
If you go into an organization, and as you and me go into many different organizations, one of the things we kind of look at with curiosity is how future focused are they? What are they doing at their front line, the youngest leaders in the organization? It tells you a ton about how future focused, how strategic that business really is. I think that's a huge indicator for me as to is that question, what are you doing with your first line leaders? And often the answer is, oh, we should be doing a bit more.
Doing the occasional learn and a little bit of this, and here's a LinkedIn talk or something, and that's the extent of it. It's one of the clients, the CEO repeats very regularly that his focus is to have an organization that builds homegrown talent, that they are able to promote, build the capacity within the organization. And you can see that in the different decisions that they're making. And, one, you're starting to see that translate into results right now in terms of the people being prepared to take on succession planning, take on that next role. But you see that in a retention standpoint as well, as people go, oh, I can see a future here, because they're willing to invest in us to help us to develop for whatever that next role might be.
Yeah, spot on. And if you're watching this and thinking, well, what can I do for my team leaders? Well, here's a simple one. If you click on the link below, there's an ebook which you can copy and send to all of your first line leaders, which is 17 strategies for success, which you, Darren, and me have come up with together based on all of our experiences aligned to our Leadership Accelerator program. So that's an easy thing for you to do. Get the ebook, circulate it. You're going to see at least some value from watching this.
No question. If I may add to it, time-tested and proven strategies as well that people can implement. Again, you see that uplift as soon as they start applying them.